On December 16, 2024, a radiation map displayed a reading of 90,210 counts per minute near Trump Tower. Hours away, in Utica, another marker showed 178,173. If those numbers had been real, New York would not have needed a breaking news alert. Emergency rooms would have known. Government sensors would have known. People standing nearby would have been in immediate danger. But outside the screen, nothing happened. No sirens, no evacuation order, no radioactive plume moving through Manhattan. The city was normal. The map was lying. And the timing could not have been worse. For weeks, residents across New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut had been staring into the night sky, reporting lights they could not identify. Some appeared to hover, others seemed to move in groups. Reports placed them near neighborhoods, reservoirs, airports, and military facilities. By mid-December, the FBI had received more than 5,000 tips. Fear had already supplied the public with half a story. Then the radiation readings supplied the other half. Someone, or several people, had discovered that one of the most frightening maps on the internet could be manipulated. Thousands of strangers saw lights in the sky, saw impossible numbers on a screen, and built the same nightmare between them. To find the flaw, security researcher Ruben Santamarta would have to ignore the swarm above New York and follow a single red dot into the code beneath it. This is not the story of a nuclear attack. It is the story of how close a digital illusion came to impersonating one. Welcome to the Shadow Ledger. The first part of the trap was already hanging in the sky. Reports of unusual drones had intensified across New Jersey in November. Witnesses described objects larger than ordinary hobby aircraft, sometimes remaining airborne for hours. Police departments received calls faster than they could explain them. But darkness reduced most videos to blinking lights with no reliable sense of distance or scale. A distant jet could appear to hover. Stars and aircraft approaching an airport could become something else once cropped and reposted without context. That did not mean every report was false. Federal authorities later acknowledged a limited number of drone sightings near military facilities and restricted airspace. But they also found that many reports involved lawful commercial drones, police aircraft, helicopters, airplanes, or celestial objects. The truth was fragmented. Some sightings had ordinary explanations. Some deserved further investigation. Online, those categories collapsed into one enormous swarm. Uncertainty became the fuel. Every unidentified operator suggested a cover-up. Every unclear video became proof of impossible technology. When authorities reported no foreign connection or immediate threat, frightened viewers heard either blindness or denial. Then a second system began producing its own mystery. GQ Electronics operates an online world map that accepts readings from privately owned Geiger counters. Citizens can connect detectors and share measurements publicly. On the map, every colored marker appears to be anchored to a machine somewhere in the physical world. Ruben knew the marker meant nothing if that anchor could be severed. In December, readings on the map began climbing. At first, some markers showed roughly 200 counts per minute. Then, a location in the Bronx displayed 1,048. Other parts of New York appeared between 500 and 1,000. Around December 11th, screenshots began circulating online. To an ordinary viewer, they looked official. Precise numbers, geographic coordinates, colored warning markers, and a live digital interface. The visual language of data gave the readings authority before anyone had established where they came from. He traced the submission path. The site asked for a user ID and a device ID, but did not require proof that a verified Geiger counter had produced the measurement. A person could create an account, obtain the identifiers, and submit a reading without owning a detector. Worse, identifiers associated with existing readings appeared inside the site's web addresses. There was no locked government network to breach, no military malware, no elite team fighting through layers of encryption. The door was already open. The map could not reliably distinguish a physical measurement from numbers supplied by a stranger. Ruben opened the history behind the suspicious markers. A real detector should have left a pulse, ordinary readings before the spike, timestamps accumulating hour after hour, a recognizable baseline. Several of the terrifying entries seemed to arrive without that past. Some offered no useful context about the user who had submitted them. The number existed, but the instrument behind it could not be established. It was not a measurement with a history. It was a claim wearing the identity of a sensor. That difference was nearly invisible to anyone looking at a screenshot. The map did not display doubt in large red letters. It displayed coordinates. It displayed time. It displayed a precise count. Every design choice whispered that a machine had witnessed something in the air, even when no machine had been proven to exist. The false numbers grew more extreme. On December 16th, the Utica marker reached 178,173 counts per minute. Near Trump Tower, the map showed 90,210. These values were so implausible that they should have destroyed the credibility of the feed. Instead, for viewers already primed by the drone mystery, the scale of the readings made the threat feel more urgent. Outside the map, the physical world delivered a second answer. Official systems showed no matching emergency. Hospitals were not responding to mass exposure. No agency was tracking a plume across New York. Every real-world layer contradicted the screen, but the screenshot had already escaped. The two mysteries fused. One theory claimed that the drones were government aircraft searching for a nuclear weapon. Another linked them to a small radioactive component from damaged medical equipment that had been reported lost during shipment in New Jersey. Authorities later said drones were not used to search for that item, and it was recovered. But by then, the idea had escaped into the wider story. Unidentified machines were flying at night because something radioactive was loose beneath them. On December 13th, a drone manufacturer posted a video speculating that the aircraft might be searching for radioactive material, a gas leak, or even a weapon. He offered no direct evidence. The video still traveled into audiences numbering in the millions. 3 days later, reality star Bethany Frankel faced a camera and spoke to her 1.4 million followers on X. An unnamed contact, she said, had warned that she might want to consider relocating herself and her daughter. The warning came wrapped in second-hand authority. The contact's father supposedly had connections to the Pentagon and NASA. Behind the fear was no evacuation order, no verified radiation alert, and no confirmed weapon. There was a mother, a child, and a story frightening enough to feel irresponsible to ignore. The drone sightings did not prove the radiation readings. The radiation readings did not explain the drones, but each claim was used to authenticate the other. A parent watching at midnight did not need to understand nuclear physics. One video showed lights beyond the skyline. The next showed a red marker nearby. The third claimed officials were silent. Close the windows, wake the children, message the family. Fear supplied the commands before evidence could catch up. There is no verified record that millions fled New York, or that highways were paralyzed by the radiation posts. The panic lived primarily online. That distinction matters. Exaggerating the physical reaction would repeat the same failure at the center of this case, turning an alarming claim into a fact because it makes the story more dramatic. What actually happened is disturbing enough. While the fear accelerated, Ruben's answer remained painfully simple. The data could not be trusted. Unknown users had planted false readings on a public-facing map during an aerial panic. After users on the company forum raised the alarm, suspicious entries were removed and uploads were temporarily disabled. The phantom cloud vanished. The identities behind it did not appear. On December 18th, a forum account appearing to represent the company announced that the abuse had been addressed. Users refreshed the map. The impossible markers were gone. No wind had carried them away. No cleanup team had entered Manhattan. A few changes inside a database had erased a nuclear emergency that had never crossed into the physical world. But screenshots survived in feeds, detached from the correction, still available to frighten the next person who encountered them. Federal agencies issued a joint assessment on December 17th. After reviewing technical data and more than 5,000 public reports, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, Federal Aviation Administration, and Department of Defense said they had found nothing anomalous that posed a national security or public safety risk in civilian airspace. Their assessment included lawful, commercial, and hobby drones, law enforcement aircraft, conventional airplanes, helicopters, and stars mistaken for machines. Approximately 100 tips generated leads for further review. The statement did not solve every sighting, but it did not support the existence of a coordinated foreign swarm searching for or deploying radioactive material. It also provided no evidence for the more cinematic theory, that the radiation scare was a diversion covering a secret drone operation against a naval base. No confirmed LiDAR sweep of nuclear submarines has been tied to these readings. No military-grade swarm has been publicly identified as the author of the incident. Presenting that scenario as established history would create another false layer on top of a case already poisoned by false information. But remove the invented operation, and a darker question remains. Was the map manipulated simply because it was easy? A troll may have wanted attention. Multiple users may have copied one another after discovering the weakness. Someone may have been demonstrating how little protection stood between an anonymous account and a frightening public claim. Those explanations are possible. None has been proven. The most serious interpretation is not that this event was definitely an act of hybrid warfare. It is that it revealed how such an operation could work. An actual attacker would not invent an entire crisis. They would wait for real uncertainty, then insert one persuasive piece of false evidence. The numbers would remain believable. Several accounts would point to apparently independent sources. The goal might be only to overload emergency lines, or force officials to waste critical hours disproving an event that never occurred. The December readings were crude. That may be the only reason the illusion broke so quickly. Open data lets ordinary people see weather, aircraft, traffic, pollution, and radiation without waiting for government permission. But every feed carries an invisible question. Are we observing the physical world, or what an unverified user told a database about it? Numbers feel different from rumors. A blurry drone video invites debate. A reading of 90,210 appears exact. It converts fear into measurement. People stop asking who typed the number and begin asking what caused it. That is the real vulnerability exposed in New York. Not a stolen submarine blueprint, not a secret radioactive cloud. A break in the chain of trust between sensor, database, screen, and human judgment. By December 18th, the most suspicious readings had been removed, and discussion of the supposed spikes began to fade. The city had never become radioactive. The impossible cloud disappeared without wind, rain, or cleanup crews, because it had never occupied the air. It had occupied a server, and then the minds of everyone who saw it screenshot. Someone submitted those numbers. We still do not know whether they wanted to frighten people or test how quickly strangers would finish the lie for them. Who poisoned the map? Leave your theory below and subscribe to the Shadow Ledger. The next phantom may not hide in the sky. It may look like data.